musketeers are known for their main weapon they use, the musket. These fine men are known for the weapon that they use, the pike, the lovely 12-foot-long pole that you see with the extremely sharp metal point at the end. Now, our musketeer will be out here in a moment. In a few moments after our musketeer does take the field, if you look closely at his equipment, you will find that he does not wear a bayonet. The bayonet does not come about for another 100 years or so. The pikeman is our bayonet. All 200 angry armored pounds of the 12-foot-long weapon of bayonet. So what happens is, on the battlefield, the musketeers move along with the pikemen. The musketeer's job is to get the pikemen into close combat. The pikeman's job is to protect the musketeers from other pikemen or armored cavalry, riders on horseback. So, as you can see, there are some differences and variations in pikes. These have triangular heads and they're much longer. Mine is considerably shorter and has a wide, broad blade. My job is to stand behind these fine soldiers and use this as a motivational tool. If they decide they want to try and run away, it now becomes a matter of who are they more terrified of, their sergeant or the enemy? Who are you more terrified of?
You, sergeant!
Excellent. So this is my motivational tool used behind them to keep them moving forward toward the enemy, like they do. Now how they're standing right now is what's known as the order. They're standing there with their pike butts on the ground, looking all fancy and pretty, not really doing a whole lot. They can't maneuver right now like they are right now because their weapon is too long and the butt's laying on the ground. So if we have to move from one point to another, I just tell them, "Pikemen, advance your pike!" They raise or advance their pike. Now you know the pike butt's in the right hand, it's in the crook of their shoulder. But if you notice, all except one of our pikemen is wearing a helmet. Pikemen, try to look up. Not very effective. Now you'll notice their weapons even higher up off the ground now. We have all these lovely tree branches that Her Majesty has graced us with. Makes lovely shade, not very easy to maneuver around with a pike butt. So, if they tried to walk down the street like they are now, they'd be knocking squirrels out of the trees, causing shish kebabs. They'd be getting their pikes all tangled together. Now I'd have just one big tangled armored jigsaw puzzle of wooden shafts and metal plates. I don't want to try and figure that out. I don't want to try and take it apart. So, I need them to be able to see where their point is as they're walking from one place to another. It'll say, "Pikemen, port your pike!" Don't get scared, they are out of range. Now they can see where their point is. They're not shish kebabbing squirrels out of the trees. They're not causing a massive accident on Her Majesty's roads. Now so far, these 3 steps are just moving from one point to another. These aren't even fighting positions yet. They can move from one point to another, they can get through gates, they can get underneath tree branches. As they're getting closer to the enemy, and they're moving along with our good musketeer here, going across the battlefield, they would be going into a position known as charge pike. Say, "Pikemen, charge your pike!" Now they're ready to actually engage the enemy in hand-to-hand combat. You'll see the left hand went right up underneath the neck. The rear arm is all the way back. This is so that they can get the maximum amount of reach when they thrust their weapon forward. Another reason is so that they can sight down the pike, looking for weak spots in the enemy's armor, where they're not protected, much like our pikemen. You'll notice they don't have any neck protection. There's nothing for the underarm. That hand has now become their neck protection, or some of their face protection. That left arm comes as low as they can get it, to try and protect all their vital organs at this big gap that you see right here. So, it's better to take a hit in the hand or the arm than have to carry those extra 20 or 30 pounds of armor. Because I can armor these fine individuals from head to toe. But I ask you, how likely is it that they'll be able to get more than a mile down the road if they're armored head to toe without dying of heat exhaustion or being so worn out that they can't fight? So we make a small trade. They wear lighter armor, and they'll be able to march 10 or 15 miles to fight a battle. Now, as far as training goes, when it comes time for them to actually thrust their pike into their enemy, I'll say, "Pikemen, lay on!"
Ah!
And they thrust their pike forward with their most fearsome battle cry, hopefully causing a shish kebab on the other end. Now, they're not going to leave that pike in there. It's not going to become a permanent shish kebab. kebab, what good does that do you with 3 or 4 enemy pikemen rammed up on your stick? So we'll repeat this process, and they will continue to lay on as they continually advance through the enemy ranks until there are no more enemy left or they run away. Now, this is all fine, well, and good, but what if I need them to move quickly? The pikemen can sweep the battlefield much like a broom. Pikemen, advance your pike! In order to do that, you can't do it very effectively with your hand up there by your face, walking along and whatnot. I would say, pikemen, at the general advance, charge, pike! It's now down by their waist. They can walk straight forward. They can actually go quite quickly. Now our fine musketeer over there is taking occasional shots at us, like what he is supposed to do. I need to get rid of him. He's all by himself. I can sweep him off the battlefield and still keep most of my pikemen alive. All I say is, pikemen, by your right-hand wheel, prepare to march! March on! As they continuously move quickly toward our musketeer, march to the fore, who now runs away in panicky disorder. Prepare to stand! Stand! And no more pesky musketeer ruining our day. Pikemen, advance your pike! Face your buddy by the right hand, about! That's good for a quick sweep. What if I need to terrify the enemy? The pikeman is the most fearsome, horrifying thing on the battlefield. Second only to cavalry, who just move fast. They're the most terrifying thing on the battlefield. As they're moving along, there's all the clinking and the clatter of the armor. So if I need to scare the enemy, or I need to keep better organization in that group of soldiers, I will say, charge, pike! By the swift step, prepare to march! March on!
St. George! St. George!
They all march in unison, keeping a nice straight line. You can hear some of the rattling of the armor. The pike points are coming right at you. Imagine that times 100. Prepare to stand! Stand! Advance your pike! Imagine that times 100. That's a fairly terrifying sight. Just the chanting and the rattling of the armor alone would be a terrifying experience. But the reason for that chanting is it keeps them all in the same step, in one straight line. Now I need you to use your imagination a little. It wouldn't be only just one straight line of pikemen. There would be 9 more rows of 10 behind them. So, pikemen, by your left-hand wheel, prepare to march. March on! Going. Stand. Stand! Face your body by the right hand. So it'll give you a little bit better demonstration. Check your spacing and charge! Pike! Now you've got something a little closer to what you actually would see. There's a depth to how this armored porcupine works. I may very well be able to fight. I may be able to get through that row of first row of fellows, knock his pike away. I now have to contend with this fellow. I may be able to get past him. These 2 fellows, I'm inside of their range already. The most they can do is probably beat me about the neck and head with their pike shaft. It's nothing much more than a severe annoyance. So I get past these 2 fine fellows. Look where the 3rd point is. I'm now in range of them. So the further I get in, closer toward the enemy, if they haven't already killed me, their friends standing behind them probably will. So I finally get in here into this close range. I've killed this first fellow. He's dead. This fellow's beating me about the neck and head with his pike shaft. I get through this fellow. That nice big fellow at the back, this has now become my 2nd rank. That nice big fellow at the back now creates a shish kebab of me. Recover, you're revived. Lazarus the pikeman. Advance your pike! Dress your ranks and files. Face your buddy by the right hand! Now that's all well and good against other pikemen, or myself. They love to kill me, the sergeant, since I keep yelling at them. It'll work against other pikemen, but what about the scourge of the battlefield? Armored cavalry. Marching toward a group of men on horseback, chanting St. George with shiny pike points, isn't that effective? So what we have them do, order your pike! There is a specific maneuver in the drill, of which there are only about 12 steps. There's a specific maneuver known as charge for horse. at which time our musketeers move in behind the pikemen and use them as a human shield and cover while they continue to do what they do. So, charge for horse! They all plant the pike butt on the inside of their foot, right inside the arch, and lean as far forward as they can get, trying to rest their left arm on the top of their thigh. You'll also notice they've all got their hands close to or on their side weapons, whatever they're carrying. Now, this is a little bit more of a deterrent. Our fine musketeer is standing in the back using them as a human shield, which I don't blame him because he's not armored. Now, roughly where the point is, this is roughly where the breastbone of a horse would be. So, often the horse is smarter than the rider. The horse and rider are galloping toward our large armored porcupine with our musketeer firing away, which is his job. Often the horse is smarter than the rider and will stop. Actually, I don't blame them. Who would want to run into this armored porcupine? So the horse happens to be smarter than the rider, it'll stop. That rider is wearing armor, not so much unlike our fine pikeman here. He has a disadvantage yet. It's called momentum. So if he is not speared on our rows of pikemen, we'll possibly be vaulted over them, and our fine musketeer in the back here will do what he does best. Lovely done. Now, in the event that the horse is not smarter than the rider, and does decide to ram into this 12-foot-long pole with the sharp, shiny metal point, it now becomes a question of who costs less. Do you think this poor fellow here, with his rusty armor, his cheap helmet, his wooden pole, the metal point, do you think he's going to survive a 2,000-pound animal with a 300-pound rider running into it? Probably not. He's now going to become a very small, metal-covered, armored pancake. So it becomes a measure of cost. Who do you think costs less? Our rusty pikeman, or a 2,000-pound horse that takes years of training, and a rider that takes years of training? The rider on the horseback costs more. Advance your pike! That's yours. I'll give you a break. Advance your pike! Give our fine pikeman a brief break here. You can keep that order. There. Our pikeman costs less. I can make another one that looks just like him in the course of a month. This is roughly how long it takes to train him. I can probably even hammer the dents out of the armor and put it onto somebody roughly the same size. It takes years to train that horse and the rider, and it costs a lot of money. This poor fellow's only 8 pence a day. So, alright, charge for horse! I hope you enjoyed your break. Now, if a horse runs into this, the pikeman probably isn't going to survive. I can guarantee you this wooden pole will not survive. It will break. So the pikeman now moves on to their secondary weapon, their side sword. So I say, pikeman, quit your pike and draw a sword! And they continue the fight as best they can until the enemy flees or they all die. Which is fine because then I don't have to pay them. Resheath the sword. Handle your pike! Advance your pike! Pikemen, salute your audience! Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. It's been an absolute pleasure. Advance your pike! You've made them all happy with your applause. If you'd like to come take a closer look, ask our pikemen questions. They are unloaded and safe, for the most part. I just ask that you try not to feed the pikemen, and try not to make any sudden movements with bright, shiny objects. They may become distracted. They are trained, however, they are not tame. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. It's an absolute pleasure.